So if you step onto a dealership lot right now, I mean, you know the feeling immediately.
Oh, yeah, the absolute dread.
Right. The sticker shock hits you first, and then the tech confusion sets in as you're, like, looking at the dashboard.
Trying to figure out where the radio went.
Exactly. And somewhere in the back of your mind, there's just this lingering sense that the entire concept of driving has fundamentally changed. And, nobody handed you the new rule book.
Nobody at all.
So welcome to Auto News Talk. I mean, we are basically bypassing all those glossy brochures to really map out the entire modern automotive ecosystem. We're tracking the real reason vehicles feel so unaffordable, the mechanical friction hiding behind all this new technology, and, the incredibly expensive dual strategy automakers are running.
Yeah, and we can't forget how local dealerships are fighting to keep their identity in the age of artificial intelligence.
Right. It is a lot to unpack.
It is. So just to set a mental map for you, consider this like a guided walk through the entire life cycle of the modern car market.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah, we're basically traversing three distinct environments here. First is the financial reality of the buyer, which is the absolute limit of your wallet.
The painful part.
Very painful. Second is the engineering friction happening at the manufacturer level, where utopian software is just violently colliding with physical hardware.
Oh, yeah.
And finally, the digital battlefield on the dealership floor where these highly complex machines actually get sold.
So let's start right where that friction is felt most acutely, right? The wallet.
Yeah, let's do it.
The true cost of the modern commute. Because it just feels like the barrier to entry for a new vehicle has completely skyrocketed. But an analysis from Cox Automotive points out a really critical distinction here.
They do, yeah.
They make the case that vehicle affordability challenges aren't actually driven by the manufacturer's suggested retail price alone.
Right, and that distinction is so vital. I mean, when we look at the Cox data, the average new vehicle continues to transact near $50,000.
Which is wild.
It is. While the average MSRP actually sits above $51,000.
Right.
But Cox argues that it's the broader pressure of household budgets that makes vehicles, feel less affordable.
Oh, okay.
It's the entire financial picture squeezing the buyer.
So the sticker price is really just the cover charge.
Basically, yeah.
It's like buying a flagship smartphone. The hardware itself is undeniably expensive, but it's the required data plan and the app subscriptions and the cloud storage that actually bleed your budget dry month after month.
That is a perfect analogy.
Right, because in the automotive world, those subscriptions are your skyrocketing insurance premiums, high interest rates on auto loans, and specialized tech maintenance.
Yeah, that analogy holds up perfectly when you look at the underlying math. What the Cox report does is break down those peripheral ownership costs. Insurance, maintenance, and borrowing costs are all just completely outpacing baseline income growth.
Wow.
But there is a fascinating mechanical reason for this, too. The sales mix is shifting.
Shifting how?
Well, higher income buyers make up a significantly larger share of the market now, and they demand highly advanced tech.
Right, they want all the bells and whistles.
Exactly. They want automatic emergency braking, pedestrian detection, radar cruise control, all of it.
Which means the baseline architecture of the car has to change to support those features, which I guess naturally pushes the floor price up for everyone else.
Exactly the point.
Yeah.
But Cox provides this brilliant historical comparison to really ground this. They track the Honda CR-V.
Okay, the classic family SUV.
Right. So over a historical time span, the average transaction price for a CR-V jumped from about $28,000 to roughly $39,000 for the current model.
That sounds like a massive jump.
On paper, it looks like runaway price gouging, right? But when adjusted for inflation, Cox notes that it is virtually the exact same price.
Wait, really? The exact same?
Virtually identical when you factor in inflation. And they apply this to the entry-level market as well. Like the absolute cheapest new vehicle you can buy is around $22,000. In past historical dollars, that equates to just under $16,000.
Oh, wow. So the cars themselves aren't mathematically out of control relative to the broader economy?
Exactly.
Our buying power has simply shrunk. And I guess the ecosystem required to keep the car legally and safely on the road has exploded in cost.
You nailed it. The implication here is severe, though. The industry is dangerously close to relying entirely on high-income buyers.
Oh, that's not good.
No, it's effectively pushing lower and middle-income families entirely into the used market.
Hold on, though. Like, how long can the new car market mathematically sustain itself by relying solely on the wealthiest slice of buyers?
That is the million-dollar question.
Right, because you eventually run out of people who can casually finance a $50,000 depreciating asset at high interest rates.
You really do.
I mean, the Cox analysis lays out the squeeze, but what it doesn't answer is the breaking point. Where is the ceiling?
It doesn't answer that no, and that vulnerability brings us directly into the second environment we need to talk about.
Okay, where are we heading?
Well, we've established that only the top tier of buyers can comfortably afford these rolling supercomputers. So what happens when those buyers actually take the cars home?
They realize they have to maintain them, which I guess brings us to the tech tax and the recall reality.
Yeah, the ownership experience is incredibly fraught right now. A report from Car and Driver Tracking Industry Headlines paints a really stark picture of this friction between software and physical reality. The core insight there is that the industry is desperately trying to balance highly advanced, autonomous-leaning vehicle technology with massive, rudimentary, real-world safety issues and staggering repair costs.
It feels like automakers are trying to sprint a marathon before they can even tie their shoes.
Yes, that's exactly it.
Because we're putting hands-free driving software into massive SUVs, but automakers are still recalling millions of cars for basic fundamental issues like engines stalling and batteries catching fire.
The scale of the mechanical failure is staggering when you view the car and driver data in aggregate.
Give me some numbers. How bad is it?
Well, you've got Ford recalling 540,000 expeditions over center console issues and another 255,000 Focus models just for unexpected stalling.
Just stalling out on the road. Wow.
Yeah. And then Jeep pulling back 1 million Wranglers and Gladiators over fire risks. Honda recalling nearly 900,000 SUVs and trucks.
So we're talking millions of vehicles having physical, mechanical, and thermal failures.
Millions. And while the physical hardware struggles, the software side is driving up that tech tax you mentioned earlier.
All right.
Advanced technology means sky-high repair bills. I mean, a minor fender bender used to mean popping out a dent and painting a bumper.
Yeah, a couple $100 and you're done.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But now it involves replacing ultrasonic sensors, swapping out proprietary cameras, and paying a tech for hours of software recalibration.
Ouch.
And the financial weight of this is forcing EV makers to entirely shift their product strategies. Another Car and Driver update notes that Rivian is cutting its cheapest models because the margins just don't work.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. While at the exact same time, Lucid is rolling out highly advanced, hands-free driving capabilities to justify their massive luxury pricing.
Okay, wait. There is a detail in that Car and Driver reporting on autonomous tech that requires a massive pause.
Oh, I know the one you're talking about.
Yeah, regulators are currently considering a federal rule that would allow automakers to literally drop brake pedals from driverless cars.
It is wild. The removal of the most fundamental mechanical safety override in automotive history.
A completely blank floorboard. Like, think about the cognitive dissonance here.
It's hard to wrap your head around.
The exact same industry that just recalled 1 million vehicles because they might spontaneously catch fire is actively petitioning regulators to remove the brake pedal.
Yep.
They're asking us to fully trust their software to stop a 2-ton piece of metal moving at highway speeds.
It really illustrates the severe friction between the industry's utopian vision of this seamless automated future and the physical, messy, mechanical reality of the present.
We are so caught in the middle.
We are. We're caught between the dream of the pedalless autonomous pod and the reality of the stalled-out sedan.
You know, the obvious blind spot in all of this reporting is the timeline.
Oh, completely.
Because what this doesn't answer is when a regulator will actually clear a pedalless autonomous vehicle to share a public road with school buses and pedestrians.
Right.
Because if the current repair and recall landscape is any indication, the software and the hardware are not talking to each other well enough to justify that loop.
No, they're really not. And automakers are fully aware of that volatility.
I'm sure they are.
The technology is expensive to buy, it's incredibly expensive to fix, and consumer adoption of radical changes like removing a steering wheel or a brake pedal is entirely unpredictable.
So what did they do?
Well, that uncertainty forces the manufacturer's hand, which brings us to their grand dilemma.
Ah, the great automaker hedge. Because, I mean, they cannot afford to fully commit to one path when the destination is that blurry.
Exactly. And we see this clearly in another set of industry updates from Car and Driver. The central insight here is that automakers are running a massive, capital-intensive dual strategy. They are pouring billions into electric vehicle and alternative battery development, while simultaneously feeding the massive enthusiast demand for traditional gas-powered performance.
So they're essentially running two completely different restaurants out of the same kitchen.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah, I mean, one side is serving internal combustion, the other is serving electric architecture. That level of duplicated research and development has to be burning cash at an astonishing rate.
The scope of the vision is just wild. Look at the gas and classic side of the ledger.
What's happening there?
Car and Driver reports that Chevy and GMC are throwing massive V8 power into their light-duty trucks. Jeep is reviving the rugged Grand Cherokee Trailhawk.
Nice.
Porsche is outright promising its loyalists that the iconic 911 will not become an EV. And Mitsubishi is even teasing retro analog gauges for a future Montero, just to play on pure nostalgia.
Wow. So it's a full retreat to the analog gas-burning past.
Totally. But then, step across the aisle on the exact same showroom floor, and the EV and hybrid side is aggressively pushing forward.
Doing what exactly?
Well, General Motors is pushing fast charging networks and sinking capital into next-generation sodium-ion batteries.
Okay, let's unpack that for a second, because sodium-ion is actually a really big deal.
It is huge.
It bypasses the massive supply chain bottleneck of lithium, right? It's cheaper, it uses abundant materials, but it requires a completely different engineering approach to get the energy density right.
Exactly. And while GM chases sodium, Stellantis is out there testing solid-state batteries.
Which is another massive leap.
Right, because solid-state replaces the liquid electrolyte in a battery with the solid material, which makes it lighter, allows it to charge incredibly fast, and dramatically lowers that fire risk we talked about earlier.
Okay.
Meanwhile, Honda is reportedly bringing back the quirky element, but they're adapting it as a hybrid.
You know, the most memorable detail in that Car and Driver coverage perfectly captures the split personality.
Oh, the BMW example.
Yes. Look at the BMW X5 lineup. BMW is releasing a fully electric iX5 right alongside a roaring twin-turbo V8 X5M.
It's crazy.
They are engineering, manufacturing, and marketing the polar opposites of the automotive spectrum under the exact same badge on the exact same lot.
It is the ultimate corporate hedge. And if you want absolute proof of the staying power of gas engine nostalgia, a separate piece from Car and Driver noted that the popular enthusiast auction site, Bring a Trailer, just hit its milestone 250,000th listing.
Oh, wow. What was the car?
The vehicle that crossed that block was a classic 1985 Ferrari 288 GTO.
A wildly aggressive, completely analog manual transmission icon.
Exactly.
I mean, it is the psychological antithesis of a pedalless autonomous pod.
Brands are terrified of alienating either extreme. I mean, if an automaker goes all in on EVs, they lose their legacy gasoline loyalists and the huge profit margins those V8 trucks generate. But if they ignore EVs, they lose the early adopting tech crowd and risk catastrophic fines from missing emissions regulations. So they just cater to both simultaneously.
But the question these reports leave wide open is the financial math.
Oh, for sure.
What this doesn't answer is whether maintaining two completely separate manufacturing pipelines, like building old-school V8 engine blocks, while simultaneously inventing alternative chemistry like sodium-ion batteries, is actually viable in the long term.
It's a huge gamble.
It looks like a recipe for corporate bankruptcy.
It is a high-wire act of capital allocation.
Yeah.
And the complexity of that high-wire act trickles all the way down to the local level.
Which is our third environment.
Right. We've mapped out the affordability crisis for the buyer and the engineering and manufacturing contradictions at the corporate level. Now we have to look at the final mile.
The local lot.
Exactly. How are local dealerships supposed to market these wildly complex, contradictory lineups when the digital tools used to sell them are also changing overnight?
Ah, the dealership identity crisis.
Precisely. According to an article on digital retailing from AdWave, dealerships are facing a severe crisis of commoditization.
Because of AI, right?
Yep. The core insight there is that generative artificial intelligence is making high-quality digital advertising universally accessible.
Okay, but why is that a crisis?
Because the unintended consequence is that all dealership ads risk looking and sounding exactly the same.
Ah, it's the Instagram filter effect applied to local business.
That is exactly what it is.
Generative AI makes everything look glossy, sun-drenched, and perfect. But by applying that perfect digital sheen, it strips away the unique human flaws and, the hyper-local personality that actually make a community business trustworthy.
Right. And AdWave backs this up with some striking data, noting that 86% of media buyers are using or plan to use generative AI for video ads.
86%. Wow.
Yeah. AI drastically lowers the cost and the time it takes to produce commercial assets. In the past, a massive dealership group with a huge marketing budget could dominate the local airwaves with slick, high-production commercials, while smaller independent lots simply couldn't compete.
Right. They were stuck with, the blurry local cable ads.
Exactly. But AI completely erases that budgetary advantage. Anyone can prompt a slick video now.
But if everyone has a slick video, the glossy aesthetic loses all of its value.
The AdWave article draws a critical difference to solve this, actually. It's the difference between performance advertising and brand advertising.
Okay, walk me through the difference.
So performance advertising is purely about chasing the immediate click. It is showing up in a search engine the exact moment someone types in, "buy a hybrid SUV near me." AI is exceptionally good at optimizing that.
Right.
But brand advertising is about building local trust months or years before the customer is even ready to buy. For that, dealerships absolutely must feature local inventory, their actual human staff, and specific, recognizable community references.
The move it to another state test mentioned in that AdWave piece is a brilliant framework for this.
Yeah, how would you describe that test in practice?
It is a simple litmus test for authenticity. Basically, if a dealership uses an AI-generated ad, and you could take that exact video, change the logo, play it in a completely different state, and absolutely nobody would notice the difference.
Then it fails.
Right. The ad fails entirely at building local identity. It's just generic digital noise.
The stakes there are incredibly high. If dealerships rely purely on generic AI prompts to save marketing dollars, they will lose their standing in the community.
They stop being the local guy.
Exactly. They cease being the trusted local car expert who sponsors the Little League team.
Yeah.
And they just become faceless distribution hubs for these massive, complex machines.
But what the AdWave guidance doesn't answer is the practical implementation. Exactly how is a small independent dealership without a dedicated tech team supposed to safely train these AI models?
It is the big question.
How do you teach a generic algorithm to capture your unique, hyper-local voice without tumbling into the uncanny valley where the ad just feels, slightly fake?
That is definitely the steepest learning curve the retail sector faces. But if we pull the lens back and survey this entire ecosystem we've mapped out, the individual pieces start to form a very clear, cohesive picture.
All right, let's synthesize the map. What are the dominant themes bridging the buyer, the manufacturer, and the dealer?
Well, three major themes run through all of this material. First is the hidden burdens of modernization.
Right.
We saw this supported by the Cox data, demonstrating how peripheral household costs and interest rates are crushing true affordability. And that was reinforced by the car and driver data on skyrocketing repair costs and million vehicle recalls.
Right, so the vehicles are theoretically better, but the burden of keeping them running is heavier than ever.
Exactly. It's the true weight of the tech tax. Second is the industry-wide dual strategy. We saw this clearly in the car and driver updates, showing automakers physically placing experimental solid-state EVs and roaring analog V8s on the exact same showroom floor to hedge against an uncertain future.
The wildly expensive technological buffet.
The buffet, exactly. And third is the fight against commoditization. As supported by AdWave's analysis, dealerships have to fight tooth and nail using authentic human, local elements so their reputation doesn't get swallowed by the generic wave of AI advertising.
It is really an ecosystem defined by its contradictions.
Oh, the contradictions are the defining feature. I mean, there are two direct tensions here that just stand out.
What's the first one?
On the manufacturing side, you have the push for a highly regulated, pedalless, autonomous future from the car and driver reports, directly clashing with the massive, undeniable consumer demand for analog, gas-guzzling classics like the Ferrari 288 GTO and those heavy-duty V8 trucks.
Right, the industry is trying to serve two completely incompatible visions of what driving actually is.
Exactly, and the second tension is on the retail side.
With the ads.
Right, the democratization of ad production via AI, highlighted by AdWave, completely contradicts the absolute necessity of maintaining a unique human dealership identity.
Because the technology mathematically wants to make everything uniform and efficient.
But the business of selling cars requires standing out and building messy human trust.
Exactly. Which brings us to the ultimate takeaway for you, listening to this map being drawn. The single most practical lesson from all of this is that you have to look past the glossy surface.
You really do.
Whether you are staring down the headline MSRP of a shiny new hybrid, or you are watching a perfectly polished, algorithmically generated dealership ad on your phone, the true cost and the true value are buried deep in the ecosystem. It's found in the interest rates, the long-term repairability of those ultrasonic sensors, and the authentic reputation of the actual human being sitting across the desk handing you the keys.
The surface only tells you what the product is.
Yeah.
The ecosystem dictates what it will actually cost you to live with it.
Well said. And that is all for this segment of Auto News Talk. We've covered the shrinking buying power, the friction of physical recalls against utopian software, and the artificial sheen of modern car sales.
It's a lot to think about.
It is. But before you go, consider one final thought that bridges all of this. If we do reach that utopian future where cars don't have brake pedals and they are marketed to us entirely by artificial intelligence, who actually holds the liability when something goes wrong?
That is a terrifying question.
Is it the software developer, the AI marketer, or the human sitting helplessly in the driver's seat? Keep an open mind next time you see a car commercial or walk up to a window sticker. Ask yourself what the real cost of ownership is going to be, and maybe double-check if there's actually a brake pedal inside. Until next time, keep your eyes on the road.